What-ho and hello. Welcome, as always, to Forgotten Temples of Cambodia. And it is myself, Mr. B. Now, I've got a few problems. Firstly, I'm completely lost. Secondly, my phone's so overheated, I can't actually see the screen. And thirdly, none of my mapping or internet's working, and I have two different providers, which means I can't actually tell you where I am because I've forgotten the name. It also has the rather disparaging aspect of I've got no idea how I'm going to get out because I've just been through a labyrinth of mango trees. I mean, left, right, left, right. A labyrinth. So I'm a bit buggered, really. But I'm buggered in a nice place because behind me is no temple. Oh, no. Behind me is the oldest thing I will ever show you, and that's a promise. I will never show you anything older than this, because, my temple tears, this is a Neolithic cave. For over 10,000 years, here in Cambodia, man has lived up there. They have found skulls and skeletons and bones and primitive pottery and all sorts of things. And there's a good reason for all this. But first, let me get my walking shoes on and let's get a bit closer. Right, so this is how our ascent begins. And it's rather discouraging, you know, that there's nobody for miles and miles, because if something happens, I'm in a spot of bother. But that's where the word adventure begins, I suppose, isn't it? It's doing things outside of your comfort zone and things you've never done before. And believe me, my temple chums, when I get up here, I think I'm going to find something which I'm very much going to enjoy. So I'm really looking forward to taking you to this one. Let's keep moving. And this is it. Its name, Laang Spean. And it is absolutely incredible. I came to Battambang Bong as with my usual quest, which is to hunt down ancient temples and put them in my bumper library. But it was with absolute delight and pleasure. I started to get up some clues and some things off the internet about this ancient cave. I mean, look at it. It is amazing. And all I can hear is birds twittering and my own echo, which is just wonderful because I'm still a kid like that. And I've seen butterflies flitting through. This is a magical place. But what is way more exciting to me is just imagine 12,000 years ago, right here is where ancient man was. Because the fields and the land around here is particularly fertile, so it made sense. Animals would come here, there was water, the usual things that animals or humans want for survival. And it is the one and only site in the whole of Cambodia where prehistoric man's remains has been discovered. And I have it all to myself. And this is wonderful. I mean, this is what really fills me and gets me charged for the next adventure. So what can I tell you about this wondrous place? Well, let's walk around together and I will tell you what I can, but that unfortunately is not an awful lot, because with something that's that old and with not so many remains, it's an awful lot of guesswork and filling in those gaps. But you and I can stroll around this magical place together. And I ask, bring your bumper bag of imagination, because there's one thing I do believe. Through the ages of time, man has not really changed that much. We have the same wants, desires, and passions. So let's use that logic with our imagination and see what we find. And that was my backdrop just a moment ago. Now, here is what I believe, because it's been left in place, is a petrified tree. Because it sounds jolly hollow. So that, if of course the cave has remains of humans going back 12,000 years, then that also would fit the same era. Now, as we turn round, we can see the cave itself. I mean, wow! And this is why I'm so happy. I'm a bit of a kid at heart. I'm a lot of a kid at heart. Because it's these little sort of explorations and stuff that stop me having the same mundane life that so many do. And I'm not cussing or having a go at anyone, but I just could not live like that. Now, it's unfortunate I'm not allowed over this fence. And even though no one's here, we have to be respectful, don't we? Because down there, you see, is a pit. And that's where they dug down to find the remains. Now, what we know from those remains is that obviously this place was occupied for thousands of years. Now, as we walk around here, this was the sign that actually gave me the name of the place. And then we get such wonderful things as this. Look at this. It's just tree roots cascading down. Because this, I believe, is a limestone. It's a very soft stone. And Spean, as in the name, means bridge. So what happens is, you see that hole just there is it wears through and the water comes through, and then let's say this part would go here, leaving like a bridge of stone. So that's where it gets the name Spean. And then we have these roots cascading downwards. And as we walk over here, this would be the same landscape that they would have seen 12,000 years ago. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. So let's walk towards that view and see exactly, pretty much for the landscape anyway, what ancient man was looking out at. And the thing to remember is what is really important is, of course, shelter, the access to water, and the access to food. Now, the great thing about having your cave and having it up here is you've got a commanding view of the terrain. So what you could see is the migration of animals. And you would have built up a system, a way of knowing what to look for, those little details. So let's say the buddleia bush or something starts budding, and then the butterflies come to sip from its oh so lovely nectar, and then the fruits are to grow. You know that when those butterflies appear, it's not long till the fruit comes, and when the fruit comes, the animals will come. And then it's time to go hunting. So it's this view and the shelter the cave offered that was paramount to their survival. Now, let me just clamber up on this rock because I want to give you a 360 so you can get an idea, because it's not like a temple I can point the camera at and say, oh, here's some interesting features. Oh, no, this is, a cave. So we have to go around in a 360, and some of the shots you'll see twice, obviously. But here we have the back of the cave. The back of the cave, to me, has fallen in, as has the roof here, you see. Because remember, this is a limestone, I believe, and the roof has come down, and these enormous boulders and debris here were the roof, but it would have been intact 12,000 years ago. So we have the light shining through, but we wouldn't have had all that time again. This would have been a very, very dark place indeed, with the only light being afforded through the entranceway. And it's through that entranceway that we saw earlier, that commanding view. And that is what makes this such prime real estate. Here is where the skeletons were found. And there's numerous skeletons going over a wide range of years. And with them was pottery, was tools, and so on. They were laid out with some reverence. They were loved, they were looked after, and in their old age, they would have been cared for. And when they left 12,000 years ago, they were sorely missed. And what is wonderful, to this day, they are remembered. And they are remembered as the oldest Khamais ever found. Now, concluding our 360, we see the effects of wind erosion and water erosion in these holes here, you see, because the stone is soft. So this is what made this cave, it's this soft stone. But it really, really is an incredible place. Well, there it is. It's more of a cathedral, this. There's not an awful lot I can say to tie this up, because what do we know? Well, what we do know is they were smart. And what we do know, by the way they laid out their dead, and what I forgot to tell you earlier is when they laid them out, they actually placed them in a certain position and put stones and other things underneath their legs. And, you know, they laid them out in a very formal and loving way. I have no idea how to end this. It's outside of my remit. It's not something I'm used to. Because if there's a site that is deeply holy, then surely this is it. I mean, temples are built to worship and so on. But are they really more ingrained and deeper into our very own history and fibre as humans than this place? I would say not. I would say this, for a temple tier like myself, is the Holy of Holies. And it's been my absolute pleasure to be able to show it to you. It only remains for me to say the usual now. This has been Mr. B at Forgotten Temples of Cambodia. Any questions or queries, do let me know. And thank you for all those lovely comments I've been getting recently. I really do appreciate them. And I very, very much hope you've enjoyed this video particularly, because it has touched me deeply. I didn't think it would, but being here really has touched me. So thank you very much for joining me. And don't forget to purchase your ticket, because the Temple Express is leaving a platform near you soon. So don't forget to jump on board for the next adventure. Until then, I wish you nothing but the very best.